You probably heard of the unicorn, but did you know China has one too? Not a symbol of purity, but of benevolence. Gentle, graceful, almost like a gentleman. It's called the Qilin. What exactly is this mythical creature? Let's take a closer look. In Chinese mythology, the Qilin is often called the foremost of all fur-covered beasts, and it stands alongside the phoenix, the turtle, and the dragon as one of the four sacred creatures. Over 2,000 years ago, an ancient Chinese text described it like this: a body like a deer, a tail like an ox, and a single horn. The Qilin is also gender. The male is called Qi, the female Lin. Together, they form the name Qilin. The phoenix, Feng Huang in Chinese, follows a similar idea, with Feng as male and Huang as female. But what truly defines the Qilin is its nature. It's calm and composed, its voice said to be musical, its movements perfectly measured. It doesn't travel in herds, and it avoids harming any living thing, not even grass or insects. In Chinese tradition, it represents kindness, virtue, and moral perfection, like an idealized noble being. And because of that, the Qilin is seen as a sign of great fortune. It is said to appear only in times of wise rulers, or when a truly extraordinary person is about to be born. This gentle creature is even tied to one of China's greatest thinkers, Confucius. According to legend, shortly before he was born, a Qilin appeared at his family's home. It carried a piece of jade book bearing a mysterious message. A prophecy that the child to come would be chosen by heaven. He would be born in a time of decline, yet grow into a man of extraordinary virtue, a king without a throne. 2 days later, the Qilin vanished, and Confucius was born. Because of this story, the Qilin came to be seen as a symbol of blessing and new life. For centuries, people have believed that praying to the Qilin could bring them a child, one gifted with wisdom, just like Confucius. At this point, you might be wondering, wasn't the Qilin supposed to look like a deer? So why, in stories about Confucius, does it suddenly look more like a dragon? And if you've seen different depictions of the Qilin, you probably noticed this too. So, what exactly is the Qilin? What kind of creature is it really? Before we answer what the Qilin really is, let me tell you a fascinating story from ancient China. In the early 15th century, during the Ming Dynasty, a famous explorer named Zheng He He returned from overseas with an extraordinary gift, a giraffe. It was presented to the emperor at the time, the Yongle Emperor, and the entire imperial court was amazed. Why? Because to them, this animal looked strikingly similar to the legendary Qilin described in ancient texts. A deer-like body, an ox-like tail, hooves, and a gentle nature. The emperor was delighted. After all, according to the tradition, Qilin only appears in times of peace, under a wise and virtuous ruler. What is more important, he seized the throne from his nephew through a coup. He needed to prove his legitimacy. So he became convinced that the giraffe was in fact a Qilin, and even ordered court artists to paint it. But was the Qilin really just a giraffe? Not quite. In fact, the image of the Qilin has never been fixed. It has evolved and changed over time. To trace the origins of the Qilin, we have to go back over 2,500 years to one of China's oldest collections of poetry, the Book of Songs. In these ancient verses, the Qilin isn't described in detail, but used as a metaphor. a symbol of virtue. Its hooves, its forehead, its horn all are used to praise the noble character of royal descendants, suggesting restraint, dignity, and strength without harm. In other words, the Qilin was never meant to be fierce. It was powerful yet gentle. Around the same time, an early Chinese dictionary known as the Erya offered a more concrete image: a deer-like body, an ox-like tail, and a single horn. So, in its earliest forms, the Qilin was likely imagined as a calm, deer-like creature. By the Han Dynasty, something new appears in some artworks. The Qilin is shown with wings. Why would a creature like this suddenly be able to fly? At the time, many elites in China were deeply fascinated with immortality, the idea of transcending the human world and becoming divine. And in that worldview, the ability to fly wasn't just physical, it was a sign of something sacred. So, by giving the Qilin wings, people were elevating it, turning it into a being that could move between heaven and earth, a bridge between the human and the divine. But there's another layer to the story. During the Han Dynasty, China was actively connected to the outside world through the Silk Road. From regions as far as Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, images of winged creatures like the griffin began to spread eastward. These foreign designs were absorbed and reimagined by Chinese artisans, gradually blending it into native creatures like the Qilin. By the Tang Dynasty, the Qilin still looked largely deer-like, but its form became stronger, fuller, and more dynamic. In many depictions, it even retained the wings introduced in early periods. This shift reflects something bigger. The Tang Dynasty was one of the most powerful and prosperous eras in Chinese history, and its art embraced a bold, rich, and energetic style. At the same time, China was deeply connected with cultures to the West, especially Persia and Central Asia. As foreign artistic influences flowed in, new decorative patterns began to appear, swirling lines, flame-like motifs, which were gradually incorporated into images of the Qilin in stone carvings, textiles, and metalwork. The result was a creature that felt more fluid, more ornate, almost otherworldly. Yet, despite these visual changes, one idea remained constant. The Qilin still stood for virtue. In line with Confucius' values, it represented a kind of ideal character, gentle, refined, and powerful, without being aggressive. By the Song Dynasty, the Qilin began to change again. Most heads took on the features of a dragon, and its body began covered in scales, making it look more like a miniature dragon than the gentle deer-like creature of earlier times. This transformation wasn't just about arts. As cities and commerce flourished, the Qilin was no longer only for the imperial court, it started appearing everywhere, in porcelain, textiles, and everyday decorations. One reason may be simple practicality. Artisans were more familiar with drawing dragons, and dragons were highly admired. Using dragon-like features make the Qilin instantly recognizable, and the market clearly preferred it that way. There's even a popular folk explanation. The Qilin is said to be the offspring of a dragon and an ox, so seeing a Qilin with a dragon's head didn't seem strange at all. By the Ming and Qing dynasties, the Qilin had fully taken on the dragon-like head, and scaled body appeared in the Song dynasty. It appeared widely, from official uniforms to everyday porcelain, and even in burial goods, becoming one of the most beloved symbols of good fortune across China. Interestingly, the patterns connecting the Qilin to Confucius, the famous Qilin spitting jade scroll motif, as mentioned above, also became widely popular during the Ming period. The Qilin also held an important place in official attire. While the emperor's robes were always adorned with dragons, high-ranking nobles and military officers could wear the qilin instead, a symbol second only to the dragon, which had 5 claws compared to the qilin's 4. Granting a qilin to distinguished generals and nobles was more than mere decoration. It acknowledged their military achievements, while also representing a higher ideal, leadership through virtual benevolent governance, and the Confucian principle of ending wars through morality. In this way, the qilin became both a symbol of prestige and moral exemplar, a sacred creature admired across all of society. The evolution of the qilin image reflects China's history, politics, and culture. Once a gentle, benevolent beast of ancient times, it gradually gained wings, strength, and even dragon-like features, becoming a symbol of imperial authority. Over time, it also entered folk culture, transforming into a beloved creature of good fortune for all. That's it for today's look at the qilin. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.